Hey
Ready.
guys, it's your best fight friends. I'm Rachel. This is Kelsey, and this is Steven right over here. Hey, Steven.
Hello.
Are you
Hello.
pointing the right way though?
And look, see, I'm pointing at him.
I know,
Yep.
but you said it was opposite, didn't?
Oh yeah, maybe you're
Nah,
over
I
here.
finally got you, Rachel. Well, of course, you guys know that Stephen McCaugherty is our resident expert on all things UFC. He's a writer for Heavy on UFC, and I think if I was going to pick one ultimate fighting champion, it would be Stephen.
Yes. Good choice.
Yeah. So welcome, Stephen. Rachel, hit him up with questions. Hit him up, Rachel.
Well, we wanted to have Steven on because we had a really big fight weekend in the UFC. We just saw Francis Ngannou defeat Cyril Gane. Did I say it right?
She did it right.
Good.
In a way that none of us expected. So just real quick, talk to us about your thoughts on how Francis took on Cyril.
Yeah, I mean, like most people that watched it, I think it was a pretty surprising fight to see how it unfolded, right? The last 3 rounds was a grappling match for the most part, with Ngannou winning it and taking Gane down and controlling him on the ground. I think that was just super surprising to see. So we got to see some new wrinkles in Ngannou's name. I mean, that was a big question, even going into his last fight with Stipe Miocic, right? Because Stipe, the first time he beat Ngannou, he used his wrestling to beat Ngannou. So going into that fight, we're like, well, can he stuff Miocic's takedowns? In the fight against Miocic last year, he did in fact do that. And then in this fight, he's the one that's taken Gane down, which I imagine is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Overall, just like super impressed. It definitely wasn't the fight that we thought we were going to get, but I think it was an important fight for Ngannou to show that he is not just that one, like he's kind of viewed as more of like a one-dimensional fighter, right? Like insane power and insane speed on the feet, but people view him with a lot of technical deficiencies, right? Whereas Gane, you look at him, he was kind of the striking savant going into this fight, and it was just cool to see that Ngannou, has a lot more in his toolkit than maybe we realized.
Yeah, and we were told that he did, right? Because like he came in and then like didn't do so great, and then he like retooled, and he's like, this is the like new and improved Ngannou, but we still saw that power like leading in all of his matches. But then because like I was sold on Gane being,
I was beating the drum for Cyril Gane.
Technical, like, and so see like. And do it in a different way. And that's what's fascinating about heavyweights, is because heavyweights fight different than all the other divisions. They fight in a different way. So Ngannou wasn't fast. He even looked like it was kind of like a lumbering, but
to be fair, he had 0 good knees. Right.
That's an important distinction. But that's a good point, Rachel. Like right off the bat, like there was a lot of talk about how Ngannou has improved his grappling inside the gym. Like we knew he's been staying busy, but the thing is he'll go into a fight and just starch everybody. So you don't actually see that improvement. But in this fight we did. It was super impressive.
So what, Stephen, I think when I was done watching the fight, because it was super surprising to me that Ngannou, I actually picked Cyril Gane to win, and I felt pretty good about it after the first 2 rounds. But then epic comeback, like that's what a real champion does. I think in one of your stories, and we'll link it in the show notes, one of your stories for Heavy, you had a Max Kellerman tweet in there, and Max said that he had lost the first 3 rounds but won the next 3 rounds. That's what real champions do. It was either Max or Teddy Atlas. Somebody from the boxing world said that. And listen, that is amazing. I agree. But now I want to know, what is he going to do next, Stephen? What's next for Ngannou?
I mean, I don't even think Ngannou knows that, right? Because at this point, I mean, the story's been shared so much. He's going through a bit of contract turmoil with the UFC. It sounds like what he said during the UFC 270 post-fight presser is that he either has 3 fights left on his contract or 1 year left on his contract because he's a UFC champion. Yeah. He said that he's willing to sit out for the 1 year and become a free agent if he can't come to terms with the UFC. Mostly he's upset about his pay and also just the way he's treated and how he feels like he's kind of trapped in this contract where he can't really do anything except step inside the octagon and fight for the most part. Yeah. He obviously has dreams of being a boxer. He's been banging that drum for a while. Like for the last few years, in a lot of interviews, Ngannou said that he wants to box. So you got Fury out there calling him out. After the fight, he tweeted to Ngannou and said, "Hey, come box me, make some real money." Because I mean, as you guys know, like it was a very interesting thing after the fight. We saw that because the fight was in California, the California State Athletic Commission discloses all the disclosed payments that the UFC pays its fighters for their events in that state. So Ngannou only received $600,000 in disclosed pay for the fight, which is just wild considering someone like Tyson Fury, who's the heavyweight boxing champion, made something like 30 million in his last fight, the trilogy with Deontay Wilder. So Ngannou needs to sort out this contract stuff with the UFC. I have a real, like, what I've been kind of mulling around in my head is, do you think, and maybe you guys have the answer to this, do you guys think that Ngannou and Tyson Fury have enough star power and leverage for the UFC to want to co-promote with someone like Bob Arum to make a mega boxing event like they did with Mayweather and McGregor back in 2017?
I've actually thought about this a little bit because I think that the market is saturated with these type of fights. So if it is something that they want to do, then they're going to have to think outside the box. And I think it's the thing that both Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou talked about, where they boxed inside of a UFC octagon with the little gloves on. I think that that's different. That with the heavyweight champion, the two heavyweight champions of the boxing's real heavyweight champion and the UFC heavyweight champion, that to me would sell a bazillion pay-per-views.
I bet the marketing for that is like totally easy. I think that Dana White had a different relationship with McGregor going into that huge mega fight. And I think that his relationship with Ngannou, I'm going to guess, has soured a bit. And you have Ngannou coming out of the gym over there with Randy Couture, who definitely does not have a good relationship with Dana White. Yeah. I think that Dana White wants to kind of keep his UFC world in check. And that means you can't be going outside your own promotion. You want to keep things in and he's built it this way. Like this is part of, I mean, because UFC is different than boxing. Boxing's very individual. And you see UFC fighters come in and they have like a uniform, like they can't even, you watch boxers, they're designing what they wear inside the ring on fight night. Like their walk-ins or ring walks are just like these.
They're negotiating how big the ring is. Everything.
Like just everything. But UFC is very much kept in. And I do not think that Dana would negotiate this. I think Francis could wait out the year. And I think he could do something huge if his contract does expire in a year.
Yeah, I don't really see Dana White co-promoting with Fury. And I believe that would have to go with, he'd have to work with Bob Arum, right? We know their relationship is not good. So it's a little different.
But because of their political opinions and whatever, I feel like those guys tend to work together when they can both make $10 billion.
Right. They might. I think that sometimes Dana White holds a little bit of a grudge with fighters on different things, and he's not willing to budge. Yeah, I don't think it's Bob Arum. I think it's Francis.
Yeah, and also don't forget, he didn't actually go into the octagon after the fight to wrap the belt around Ngannou's waist. He sent him
sniffles. He had the sniffles.
Did he have the sniffles? I mean, he was in there in the co-main event wrapping it around Davison Figueiredo, so maybe something happened. And so I think that if he could choose, I'm sure he'd pick Tyson Fury, box Tyson Fury. What if I could choose, I'd pick John Jones. I think that is the fight I've been yelling for that fight since last year. I mean, 2020, I think, actually, really ever since Jones vacated that light heavyweight title. I think that's the fight to make. But
what do you think will happen, Steven?
What do I think will happen? I think that he'll come to terms with the UFC. I think he'll sign a shorter fight contract, maybe. And I think he'll take on, if Jones wants to come back, he'll fight Jones. But if not, I could see them doing the Stipe trilogy. Mm-hmm. Or if Derek Lewis wins in Houston next month against Tai Tuivasa, I could see them putting Derek Lewis into a heavyweight title fight with Francis. Do that rematch. Give Lewis another chance to become a UFC champion. I could see, I mean, there's so many possibilities. It really just comes down to what if the UFC wants to play ball, Francis wants to play ball. They both want to play ball.
I hope they play ball because I want to see the UFC heavyweight champion fighting in the UFC. That's what I want.
I don't know. I'm kind of ready to see what Francis could do outside, take his talents to the world.
I mean, I love the enthusiasm.
Okay.
I want him to make all of the money. I want him to make $30 million a fight. That would be amazing. I think that if he boxed Tyson Fury, that would be a really bad night for Francis.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. Except I'll leave you with this. Tyson Fury tends to fight up and down to his level of competition. So I could see him coming in out of shape.
Sometimes his personal lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. And making like a, trying to be tougher to show that he can get punched. Do you know what I mean? Like he kind of tries to show off sometimes.
Maybe.
And that's what makes great fights.
Tyson Fury is undefeated.
He is the lineal heavyweight boxing champion. And arguably, I think he's legitimately one of the best heavyweight boxing champions ever. Tyson Fury. So
yeah.
You're right.
Also, he's really good.
Francis
and also I would say, because Kelsey, you're the resident boxing expert, been watching it forever. What about Fury was able to handle Deontay Wilder twice, and they went to the draw that first fight. But it kind of seemed like Tyson Fury should have won that fight.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou and Wilder, what do you see that Wilder can do that or what can Ngannou do that Wilder can't against Fury?
Yeah. And Wilder's faster. Do you know what I mean? Like he's faster and he's been boxing a lot longer than Francis Ngannou. I love Francis, but you know what? You know who else was doubting Francis? Kelsey McCarson when he was fighting Cyril Gane. I was sure he was going to lose that fight, and he won it, and he won it impressively. So I'm cheering for Francis.
Well, if anybody showed me anything, it's Anderson Silva, who came over from MMA, went over to boxing, and just schooled Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And after seeing, Jake Paul take on MMA people, I was like, you know what? People really have to spend years boxing because the stances are different and the way you act and move is different. But Anderson Silva sold me. Maybe Francis will just be a boxing savant,
Yeah. Well, we could maybe set up the fight that would be Kelsey's two favorite fighters, Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So then that would be the ultimate block.
I started beating that drum a long time ago. I'm ready for it. Rachel loves it too.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
We want to see it. I think Steven wants to see it. You said savant, Rachel. You know who else is a savant?
Who?
It's Steven from Heavy on UFC. His coverage is
I
great.
agree.
He's great. Check it out. Link is in the show notes. That's Steven over here. That's Rachel. I'm Kelsey. And this is Real Talk.